Have you ever been victimized by New Age spirituality?
We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting.
You're going to want to listen up.
I'm Megan, an intuitive life coach and Reiki master.
I'm Ryan, a professional astrologer, and we want to show you what spirituality is by talking about what it is not.
Con artist.
Yes.
Snake oil salesman.
There are so many susceptible people out there.
And then they're tainted. They're ruined. They don't want to come back to spirituality.
We still have a lot to learn, and we will humble ourselves and learn, I think, every freaking day. This is Clairvoyance,
a podcast of spiritual interference. Hey, Ryan.
Hi.
Think positive.
Yeah. You want to... You ready to get controversial today?
Today's topic is toxic positivity.
This is a hot button issue. It's so funny how a positive outlook on life can like piss people off so bad. Like some people get so mad.
As you know, I'm gonna flippy floppy, I think, during this conversation, because I am a big proponent of positive thinking. However, I see, like the toxic positivity issue, I see myself doing some of these things for myself, but I have to, like, I can't, so it's, right. I'm gonna be riding both sides here. I think.
Dude. Oh my God. I feel you because it's like, I think like toxic positivity is like such a serious issue and it can be so bad. But I'm right there with you where it's like, no, toxic positivity is like a pretty much a must for me and totally brought me out of, like,
fake it till you make
space.
it. Like feel your emotions, but I don't want to identify with them. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to feel it, but I don't want to harbor resentment, and I don't like to be around it either. Like feel your emotions, but get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, get over it, but also like, I mean, it just sucks to be in it that long. Like for me, that's like how it was. Like I just hated being in this like depressed state of mind for so freaking long. It just had to like eventually be like, I need to get out of this, and then it really was just that like forced positivity, which is scientifically backed, by the way.
Scientifically proven.
We're gonna get into it.
Okay, so this has been, I would say, definitely a passion project, because if you guys could see the notes that this young man has typed up for us, and it honestly could be a 2-part series because there's just so much information to cover here that we will make delightful for you. But Ryan, first of all, thank you for your research, but what is toxic positivity?
Well, the general consensus typically is like that. I'm not reading from any like specific definition here, but like a general consensus, honestly, across the board is that toxic positivity is often defined as an overemphasis on positivity to the point of denying or suppressing negative emotions, which is different than having a healthy, positive mindset that acknowledges the full range of emotions and experiences. But that's funny to me because I feel like a lot of people I feel like whoever came up with toxic positivity is really great at branding, because I feel like it's like this positive outlook on life.
I wonder if they got like a trademark on that. I wonder who trademarked. Seriously, somebody out there trademarked.
I actually did. I don't know if anybody trademarked it, but I did like remember, I didn't write it down, but I did remember reading about like who first kind of coined that phrase. And now I forget. I just didn't think it was going to be important, and now go figure it shows up in the first couple minutes of the episode.
I think when I was doing so my due diligence for it, the one thing that I thought was really interesting is that there's a difference between, so emotions is something that everyone has. If you have a brain, and unless you're a psychopath or have some sort of traumatic brain injury, you are going to have emotions in life. Duh. But this is just data, and this is produced by the brain, the hypothalamus and the hippocampus. By the way, disclaimer, we are not doctors or medical researchers, or this is just us spitting our shit. So, but we are well informed.
We are well informed. We do our research. We're like obsessed with this stuff. That's why, we're doing a podcast together about like all sorts of things related to this. Okay. And our anecdotal experiences also speak volumes in my mind. Not just our experiences, but the experiences that we've had with our clients,
110%. And we see the people. We're out in the streets. We're doing the work.
Yes. And I'm not trying to minimize any professionals,
That's true.
education. I'm really not. I'm not trying to minimize it. However, I will also say all information is accessible these days. Like
That's so
I'm
that's so
sorry.
true.
You can be very, very studied. I'm sure plenty average Joes out there can study their butts off on their own at home and be more well read than like a good amount of therapists or psychiatrists out there. Just saying. I'm not minimizing the field. This is across the board in any field. It's just the access to information is just so vast these days. We can be as smart as we fucking want to be, and we don't need to go to school for it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. But so emotions are data. Okay. So it is telling you what your brain's experiencing, what your body's experiencing, which I thought was fascinating. Feelings are how we interpret said data. So your emotions are just what's happening. I'm happy to see you, boo-boo. That's like, I'm happier to be here in this moment. But feelings are how we interpret the data. And in my humble opinion, I think feelings is where we're starting to go wrong. I think this is where, because feelings 9 times out of 10 are rooted to the past. So people are letting the past hijack the present and dictate the future. And I go, yeah, that's a passion project of mine, getting people out of the past. But anyway, I think that's such an interesting distinction here for toxic positivity. Emotions and feelings, they're different.
That is important. And that they're saying, like in the definition of toxic positivity, that the suppressing of negative emotions is the problem, right? Feelings. What a different subject that is, isn't it?
I know that's a whole different podcast, to be honest.
I mean, it really is.
It was fascinating.
That is fascinating. I think like also it's just perception, right? Like perception and lived experience, meaning look at this phrase that we are about to like deep dive into. Toxic positivity. Break that down into the 2 words, toxic positivity.
It's like jumbo shrimp. It's an oxymoron.
What does that mean? Yeah, it's literally, these are in this context, of course, toxic means poisonous. There are like substances that are just poison, right? I'm sorry. What we're talking about are some feelings, not poison. But like we're
some people think feelings are poison, like
right.
They really do.
But that's my point. Some people. So what's toxic to you may not be toxic to me. What's positive to you may not be positive to me. These are subjective terms that separately subjective and then combined even more subjective, right? So it's like, I think we just need to recognize that different people have different coping strategies, and like a huge part of this, like being human, living with the atrocities, being human, going through what we have to go through as humans. We're all going to have different strategies of getting through it. We're all going to find different things that work for us, right? Some people want to listen to screamo music. I don't. I'm not a screamo
Well, it's
fan.
funny you said coping, because there's coping, which is healthy, and then there's denial, which I think is intricately a part of toxic positivity, because toxic positivity is denial of said emotions. So having healthy coping mechanisms, because life is going to kick your motherfucking ass, people. I mean, if you're breathing, if you're snorting oxygen, it's going to get you. So you have to be able to, I mean, I've been accused of so many things in this realm. I go through it, but I know I'm going to get through the other end. And so even as if I'm eating a shit sandwich, life has served one up, I know, I'm like, what are the lessons here? I see the severity of what's happening. It's not like I'm in denial, but it is my coping mechanism to be like, I got to see the positive. What am I learning? What's going to happen here? Because otherwise, I mean, I would sink into depression, hook, line, and sinker.
Dude, yep. It's what got me out of depression is this toxic positive mindset and drugs. Those 2 things, quite freaking frankly, literally, which we can like get into a little bit, like once we get like to a point where that makes sense. But like, it's just like, yeah, like you gotta train yourself to like see the bright side of life, like you have to in certain situations.
And you can train yourself to do that, but it's not denying what's happening. It's just, okay, what's the lesson here? How do I move forward? How do I make sure that I don't repeat this if this is preventable? And so it's such a fascinating fine line to me with this because
It is.
I don't, there's no right or wrong.
No, there isn't, but we're two of
But
the
there
very
is, but there is.
there
You
is. There's
know?
clear I think there's clear wrong, I would say. I
Mhm.
do think there's clear wrong. I don't know that there's a clear right. Like, but I there's a I don't know. There's like a I don't know. I don't actually have like good words for this. I like to look at this from like all sides, and so I think we're gonna do that. But I also think that we are two of the only people that are pretty, I think, vocal and proactive about like the need to stay positive. Like so many people are so against toxic positivity. And like again, I think it's branding. Like I'm not going to sit here and say like I love toxic positivity because like no, like inherently like toxic, right? Like I don't want to be toxic. Like I don't think I am, but for like there's this neuroscientist, Dr. Tara Swart, who we will, kind of reference, I guess, in here. She's like a neuroscientist and she calls it an abundance mindset instead of toxic positivity, basically. And that there's a clear difference there. And the difference is that you're not suppressing negative emotions, basically.
That is the difference.
It is the
there.
difference.
I'll tell you, I think I'm probably pretty annoying to be around, like, because when you're going through it, I'm not, and this is why I'm successful at what I do. We're going to have a moment. We're going to sit with it, but I'm not the one who's going to be here stewing with you. And so we're going to get through it together. We're going to have an action plan, but you're here. So it's not, I think with toxic positivity, it's denying, it's just, oh, your mom died. Think positive. Oh, you lost your job. Think positive. This is terrible. I'm so sorry you're going through it, but we're not stewing. We're not going down that negative mindset. And each camp, life is so extreme right now. Each camp sets up. So you have to feel your emotions. You have to deny your emotions. You have to alpha mindset, alpha man. I die when I'm 40 because I've been pent up. I mean, where does it end?
No, I know. Like, and you do. Like, I'm a Cancer moon baby. So, like, of course, I like to feel like I need to feel the emotions and I feel them strong. Like, but I will attest to you, like, you're like the first call I have, like, and have had lately, where it's like, if I'm dealing with something, and like, thank God, I don't think look like too much lately. If it's been like too bonkers, but for a while there, I was dealing with some stuff and like, you would, I hate the phrase hold space, but you'd hold space for it, and you were good. Like I felt like safe, like I wouldn't feel safe going to someone that I knew was just going to immediately invalidate what I was feeling, because I know that it's important to feel your freaking feelings. And this is something that I find funny, which like again we'll probably come to, where it's like a lot of people who are so against toxic positivity culture and like positive thinking in general, they're proponents of negative thinking because they think it's more realistic and they think it's how we're hardwired as humans or whatever.
Get the hell out of here with
People,
that. I will not.
It makes no sense.
It makes zero sense.
It makes no sense. And I think it's like important, like they will also say like that one of their big arguments really against like positive thinking culture or toxic positivity, whichever way you want to call it. One of their biggest arguments is that oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh my God, why am I losing my train of thought? I remember what I was gonna say. Oh my God, I remember what I was gonna say. Let me get this out now. The proponents of negative thinking think that people who believe in positive thinking or toxic positivity, they think that we don't know how to embrace the negative parts of life. They think that we just are hardwired then, or we're hardwiring ourselves to invalidate these negative experiences, right? And that is wrong. Like I am an incredibly emotionally intelligent person, and toxic positivity, fucking love it, bitch. But I best believe I will feel and know when I'm going through something really wretched, like, and I will embrace that state of mind. But toxic positivity, I hate calling it that, but now I'm just gonna like almost wear it like a badge of honor.
TP.
Like TP.
Let's TP it up.
Like, but like TP is gonna be me. It gives me emotional intelligence, first of all, because good God, the neuroplasticity that it takes to be able to stretch your brain and have this resilience in your mind to engage in TP, but like to feel, we're all going to feel the negative stuff. I'm allowing myself to process it. But what we need to talk about though, what we need to talk about though, oh God, no, okay, is I think an important distinction to make though too before we like actually get into some of the nitty gritty here is people think that having a positive mindset or toxic positivity means that there's this expectation of needing to be happy all the time. That's not true. It is not. It is literally not possible.
I tell my clients, like, when people are, what do you want? And the first thing, without fail, everyone, I want to be happy. I'm going to stop you right there, playa, because that is when you chase happiness, you're going to be doing just that, chasing happiness. I like to get my people to a state of being content, because when you're content, even when you're having a bad day, you know that it's going to get better. But when you are constantly chasing happiness, it is not feasible. It is not attainable. Being happy every single day. And that, my friend, is toxic positivity.
Hell yeah. TP, and where it's not this like I have to be happy all the time. It's in the noticing, the calling out of, wow, I feel like shit right now. Like something terrible just happened. Name that emotion. What's the emotion like one level up? What is one level up from that? How can I just go one level up and not feel so shitty? Right? Let me up level just a little bit here, a little bit. That's it. Doesn't mean I'm going to be happy. Happy is like 70 steps away from me, like, but like a little bit, that matters. That matters so much.
Acknowledging your emotions are so important. And what's fascinating, I was working with a client in particular, and she's a microbiologist. And so some of her homework, she's so science based. I was like, you've got to feel your emotions. And she was like, well, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, and she's also an energy healer. And I said, well, then you ain't gonna be coming over here. Like if you don't know what anger is, if you don't know what sadness is, if you don't, if you, and also, what a wild world. So then she sends me a text, I hate this. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not fun to be feeling anger, sadness, jealousy, but all these are indicators. Jealousy is great. And let me tell you why. You will never be jealous. This is from Mel Robbins. You will never be jealous of something that you don't want. It shows you something that you desire and something that you can pursue. But when we take a look and we demonize, and okay, here's a little TP for you. But when we demonize lower level emotions, when they're just data, we're denying ourselves the full range of human experience. So suck on that, negative thinkers.
Literally, like quite literally. So let's move into like, okay, so what are like some of the valid points for like how toxic positivity can be negative, right? I think number one, we've already said it, emotional suppression. Sure, there are going to be those people who take it way too overboard, and they're going to invalidate their own feelings, other people's feelings.
But it pops back up, like anger is a secondary emotion. Those people who are suppressing themselves, it doesn't stay dormant. Or if it does, it's rotting your organs. And like I said, you pop off and you die when you're 40. See ya.
Yeah.
Which, don't do that. So I think that then,
right.
yeah, don't do that. Feel your feelings. Spiritual bypassing, I think, is the big issue that we've got going on with this.
And I think this is also because we didn't say this yet, but like it must be stated that toxic positivity is not inherently a spiritual issue.
Practice,
however, it's not a spiritual practice and it's not a spiritual issue, but this is a spiritual podcast. It's spiritual interference. We are interfering right now, I'm sure. But like it is a huge issue in the spiritual community because of the many like new age spirituality like approaches, I guess, that have come online, like the law of attraction crowd, right? Like law of assumption, like which like trust me, like we know the benefits of this. It doesn't work for everybody. I really believe that. Like astrologically, I can kind of see when somebody's going to be able to manifest things for themselves, like brain issues as well, like complex trauma, like like there's a lot of reasons why that line of thinking just can't work for certain people. But it does work for us and it does like and plenty of others.
You can also start to with these and the thing is, a lot of this is if you want to retrain your brain, just like when you're training your body, these are daily practices. And so if you want to view life in a positive aspect and you are a predominantly negative thinker because of trauma, because it's gonna be a little bit more. It's gonna take a little bit more. You're not you might and that's the issue here. I think there's so many issues, but also so many benefits, and it makes my brain rattle.
No, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I know it's nuts. It's nuts. You're right though. Like spiritual bypassing is a huge one in the spiritual community specifically, and I think we'll kind of like largely be sticking more so to like a spiritual way of looking at this, right? But yeah, that's huge, and it kind of brings in all these other issues as well, like the spiritual narcissism, right? Like people who are gonna be on their high horse a little bit and be like, oh, well, I am like more spiritual than you are. Like you're thinking negatively and like you don't, that's because you're new to
Your
this. And
lower
like you,
vibration, your
yeah.
lower vibrations when you think. But then to that, like I do believe that I deserve love and respect. Like because I think I'm worthy. So that
Well, yeah.
yeah.
There's something to authority, but like,
Yeah.
right. And like being trained in something for damn sure, having
Mhm.
knowledge and wisdom in a certain
Mhm.
area, like you put in the time for sure. But like, the narcissism is what's weird because I think like a huge part of like, well, something that I very much have learned in like just spirituality is that like we're really all the same. Just like that kind of like key of like, do not idolize anything. Don't put anyone on a pedestal. Your teacher is your equal. You could surpass them at any point. You could
That's so
totally
true.
like
That's
nobody
so
don't
true.
and don't ever study from a teacher who makes you believe otherwise. Like I think that's
Mhm.
terrible, you know? So like I just the spiritual narcissism really is this like holier than thou, like I am a chosen one slash I've like over flaunting, I think, like the amount of work you've maybe put into something, but that also means that you're kind of doing it for a status symbol, which is inherently I think
Ego.
non-spiritual. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
ego.
Yeah.
That is toxic positivity there. That is like a usage of that if they're engaging in toxic positivity as well. Just because
Mhm.
they're a spiritual narcissist doesn't mean that they're also a TPer.
I think spiritual narcissism too is so dangerous because it's packaged as like, I'm here to help you. Just listen, just
Hmm.
follow me. And when I first got into energy, that was the model. You had, a teacher, you had a guru, you had this person who was put on a pedestal. And when that started to become dismantled, those who had been on pedestals for so long had such an issue. And to see their fall, so to speak, from power, it was one of the best lessons I ever saw because I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I mean, you had something here. You had something special. All you had to do was lean in with the times, and everything that you were practicing or you were preaching, you weren't practicing. And now look
Hmm.
at what has transpired.
Hmm. Yes, it's a closed-mindedness, like for sure.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is. There's just like once people start like losing their like
Power and
the
money.
curiosity.
Oh yeah, and power and money will show you. It reveals who people are, who you already are.
Yeah, especially knowing like seriously, like it takes a minute to like get to a point of good money in this industry. Like it's just
Mhm.
the nature of it. There's also like the soul path of that, right? Of like kind of sometimes feeling bad for taking too much money for this type of work that's so
Mhm.
immaterial and whatever. It's just like a weird professional path. But like so once you get into that very like specific position of being able to like basically just make a bunch of money off of this, yeah, you can easily forget everything that you just put in to that however long it took
Mhm.
you to get there, um cult of positivity, which is basically just like that environment where other people are going to feel like they are judged if they express a negative emotion or admit that something terrible has happened to them. Like they feel like unsafe, right?
Mhm.
Like that you're not that person. Like
Yeah.
I would say you were in the cult of positivity if I felt like something
Yeah.
negative happened to me and I couldn't come to you, you know? More interesting like things that are like true, I think, about like how TP can be bad is like the link between it and capitalism. I think that's a really interesting one where it's like toxic positivity, this like can really enable, and this isn't even inherently spiritual, but kind of because the spiritual
And yeah, but it
industry has
is.
become part
Yeah.
of capitalism, right? It's an
Uh-huh.
industry now. So it's like the positive mindset is such it's such a step away from the whole like hustler mentality. They're like, I can do it, you can do it. We're gonna pull through. We're gonna make it happen. We're hustlers. We're gonna blah 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 blah.
And that's how I roll too. I'm, like too. So yeah.
But I think there's just a difference with the goals, right? The ambitions, the end game there. Where it's like with this, it's like we all know capitalism's a piece of shit. Like we're all like struggling in this system that is very crippling.
Well, and I also think with capitalism, if you're like the conversation with mental health and depression and having to take days for yourself, then you're not putting in hours. Who's making the goods? Who's providing the services? Who's working the front desk? So, hey, you're having a bad day. You know, your family of hamsters died that you were super attached to. Think positive. You get over it. There's no crying in baseball. That's the end, like behind it. But it's like, think positive. Think positive. You can do it. Think positive. I still need you to get to fucking work. I need you to be smiling behind the front desk. Okay. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's only 12 hours. Think positive. Somebody out there is wishing for your problems. And also, side note, I have said that. I actually said that this weekend at my retreat because someone is wishing for my problems.
Right. There's always going to be, yes, there's always going to be that. No, it's so true. Yeah. So I think that's interesting, right? It can really be enabling our capitalist society because we're just going to be like overly grateful to have jobs and systems that are actually terrible for us. But we're just going to look on the bright side of a negative system, an oppressive system. We're just going to look on the bright side. No, we need to look at it for what it is and dismantle it as best as we possibly can. That's positive.
Is this an American thing too? Okay, we're doing really well in Australia. Shout out to Australia. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Aussie listeners.
Yeah, I'm going to the land down under. But is this an American like
toxic positivity?
No, like the effect of toxic positivity in a capitalist society. I mean, I know that it's everywhere, but I want like, Mary Dell just got back from Europe, like people make 30 G's over there a year and they're chilling. They're able to travel, they're able to do this, they're able to do that. So is this I'm wondering if this is also a more predominantly American issue.
I would say yes. I think like we're just in the spotlight right now. Like, I know we're not the only capitalist nation, right? But like also we have this very severe warped form of it, which honest to God, it's like, can we even call it this anymore? Like, it's really, And so I don't know. Yeah. I think I think we're an anomaly for sure in America.
Yeah.
The other one that like is just like worth stating for sure, I think, is the impact of toxic positivity on marginalized communities. Like,
just think your way out of poverty.
Yeah.
Think your way out of these oppressive systems that have held you and your ancestors down for generations and centuries. What's the problem?
Yeah, like there are things we're not going to understand because we're white, right? Like seriously, like there's no way in hell like a black person is going to be able to positively think themselves out of a traffic stop. Good God, the like mental jumps that they're going to have to take far outweigh the standard level of positive thinking that we're talking about for white people, right?
110%.
Like it's just way different.
110%.
Similarly, though, I honestly like this is where like I think some of my stuff comes into play a little bit because like this point really is like in saying marginalized communities. So like I was like such a depressed, like closeted kid, and like not even just kid, like all the way into like college, like sophomore year of college, and it wasn't until I had done it before sophomore year of college, but like I did ecstasy, and back then it was ecstasy, it wasn't Molly. But like anyway, it was like I had never experienced such happiness in my life. Like it was just, it's ecstasy, right? It's pure joy. Everything felt beautiful and amazing and wonderful, and I knew what I was getting myself into because I was a smart little druggie and I researched. Like
I told you that last week. I've never met anyone who took the way the direction or the application you took to experimental drug use, as far as like what you could benefit and how you could. I've never heard of anyone doing that.
I hadn't either. I even would try to convince my friends.
Get on my wavelength, bro.
Join me in this.
TP it up with me, son.
Yeah, I think it was just that there was no other solution for me at the time. And I had like seen too many stories, like, of like people whose lives like had profoundly changed, and they got like they cured depression. They just like all sorts of great life changes happened through like
Mm-hmm.
drug use, right? And so I was like, that's the only option for me, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like at this stage, there's nothing else. But anyway, I'd like done ecstasy, and like something in me clicked where I was just like, okay, like I know what this happiness is like, and I'm not sitting here condoning drug use. Like, I'm not saying everybody, like go find your
Well,
local
I
Molly
mean, yeah,
dealer
go
to
go listen to episode 2.
have a
We
positive
got an
mindset.
addict on the,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
We're
which
not.
is me.
Trust me. Like that's not. This is not. This is. We all have unique approaches, right? Like
Yeah.
what's toxic to some is not to others.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. This was not toxic to me at all. It tapped me. It opened my brain to a level of happiness and joy and positivity that I didn't know was physically possible. I'd literally never felt it before, and I remembered the first time doing that and being like, I will never forget this. Like, and now when I'm not on this, I can access this. This is open for me now. It was like
Mm-hmm.
neuroplasticity, but in like one big, like massive, like quick blow,
Yeah.
right?
See, I just remember how terrible I felt the next morning because I was like, all my dopamine and serotonin have been drained from my brain. And will I ever? I mean, so for it's just to hear your approaches towards recreational drug use. And then for me, who was like, I'm in it to win it. I'm curious. What are we doing? It's so interesting because I remember having a nice time and thinking everyone was beautiful, but I also think I have nice times on the daily, and I think everyone's beautiful on the daily. So when I was coming off of that, it was like, will I be okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was depressed as hell. And like, I mean, my point being, like, I guess with this is like just to go with the marginalized communities thing, is like that level of happiness, accessing it for the first time and then being able to maintain that when I wasn't on drugs was literally the primary reason that I chose to transfer colleges after my sophomore year of college. I transferred for like I did speech and debate team, and I transferred to the #1 school in the country for it. But like, so that was a big reason too. Like I
Yeah.
loved that. But like I also was like, I need to like live my fucking life. Like I'm happy now, and like I'm happy with me. Maybe come to terms with my marginalization, right?
Yeah.
And like be okay with it. So like I used a, a very like forced level of happiness to have self-acceptance, and then I changed my fucking life, and I never even had a coming out process. I just lived my life, from
You
that
never
moment
did? You
on.
never had a coming
I
out?
never I mean, like, I in high school, I told a few people. I never told my parents. Like, Leo, my little brother, came out to my mom, and like when he told me he was going to do that, I was like, well, they're going to obviously wonder about me. He was the surprise, like for sure. And so I was like, well, they're going to ask about me. Like, no reason to fucking hide it. Like at this point, I had transferred and I was like living my life, and it was like in my last year of
Wow.
college, it was like, if they hate us, then I'm gonna, whatever. I'm gonna graduate and I'll be on my own and whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine.
Yeah.
um, you know, but like, I mean, thankfully that wasn't the case. But like yes, we have to like accept that marginalized communities think are going to have a harder time in certain circumstances. However, I am, I guess, like that weird testament to the fact that I was able to use TP
Mhm.
to accept myself and like better my life, and like fundamentally it cured my depression. I fully attribute ecstasy to curing my depression, and it also is what made me come out. Like,
I
that
love
I
that.
have no
I didn't know that.
tell me I'm toxically positive,
Yeah.
please. Tell me.
Tell me. Yeah.
God. I
I
don't
think
know.
the rise of TP is directly, and probably even how it originated, the toxic positivity term was from social media. Because then all of a sudden, all people are just posting that highlight reel, the
Oh yeah,
highlight
dude.
reel of their life, what I'm doing, and so then you had this comparison basis. I mean, social media is never going to leave, so we're just going to have this constant TP. Is TP being shoved down your throat? Are you participating in TP? I personally, I don't want to put initially on social media. I would never talked about my struggles because I didn't want to give it energy. But then I
Mm.
realized when I was going out, so many people were like, "Oh, I wish I could be like you. You're so positive all the time. And you never like to have that and to never struggle." And then I was like, "Oh no, I've done a disservice So then it was a matter of how do I package my problems that I'm going to share with the interwebs? Because my whole goal, I'm here to help people. That's why the Lord put me here, people. So now, how am I supposed to package? Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I had the worst day of my life. So then it was reframing it. So here's a lesson. Here I am having a shit sandwich day. And here is the lesson that I learned. But it was such an interesting position to be put in, because I realized that by not sharing when I was going through something on the platforms that I had, that people had this version of me that, I mean, that this simply wasn't true.
Totally, totally. I call that the Sagittarius rising syndrome, to be honest, where they always come off dead serious. People always think they're luckier than they are, and that like life just goes their way. You're not a Sag rising, obviously, but like it's
Yeah.
the same thing. All Sag risings, just like people think that life treats them better than it actually does. And there's just such a false assumption there because of their happy-go-lucky, toxic, positive attitude. But really, but also, doesn't that not then help you turn around and help you also? To then look at you stretching yourself to be vulnerable and open up on social media, embracing the negative things that have been going on in your life, but then also reframing it, which, yes, all of this is helping everybody who had this negative impression of you, but did it also not expand your sense of self by letting you embrace this?
Oh, and when I started to be more open, and that's why I went so, that's why when I decided I had to quit drinking and I needed to get sober, why I was like, well, I'm taking it to social media. And the amount of people who have reached out to me where then I'm like, all right, let's get you in AA, or this is what I did. Don't do what I did. Let's do this. Get you, like, what do we need to do? By me not suffering in silence, and I mean, it helped me, it helped other people. It's so wild to think about.
I know it really
My
is.
brain
Social
just
media is
keeps
a
like bending throughout this whole conversation.
I know.
It's like
We're
a little
definitely gonna have a
marble,
part
just
two.
bop, bop, bop. Yeah,
I
it's a
know.
marble going
I
back and
love it.
forth.
I'm so glad we're doing this like this early on in the podcast, because this is
Mhm.
obviously, like, we've talked about this subject matter so long. Um the final thing, I think, is spiritual materialism, which I do think is a real thing. Like, I think that this is like a problem where it's like somebody who's maybe got funds already. I feel like it's more of the affluent people who come into spirituality and have the money to sign up for classes, to buy the crystals, to like take,
Mhm.
like do all the things, right? Like, they got the money to do it, and like they're not they're doing it with the status, I guess,
Well,
there.
and then
Like, I
it
could
becomes
see that happening.
exclusive. It becomes
Yeah.
exclusive. Like, oh, I can only like, this spiritual healing is only for,
Hmm.
like, for our crowd.
Yeah, and truthfully though, I won't lie. Like, I can see this being a thing. Um, I only know one person that I can think of. I really thought about this and was like, I know one person that I'm like, they are they are this, Like, I'd also think that, like, they're not like with malicious intent though either. It's just that I only know one person who's really in that type of position where they can just come in and like drop whatever on whatever, have all this like spiritual experiences at their fingertips, right? Like, it's a spiritual materialism, and so they're like literally having it all and anything they want, you know.
And I live where I live is such an affluent community that I'm seeing, a lot of my clients who are now, they have such disposable income that they're dropping it and they're raising price. I mean, I can't tell, a few times this week, raise your prices. Now I am due to raise my prices, but just like when we were talking with Michaela, and I loved how she put this, she said that beauty should be democratic. And I also think that energy healing and having access to
Hmm.
someone like me should be democratic. I don't want to outprice myself. So I am
Hmm.
only servicing a very affluent community, which of course I want to make money. Hello. But I need to be accessible. So, this Blessed was such a compliment. She was like, you need to be charging 500. I'm sorry. I need to be charging 500 an hour. That's such a compliment. Thank you. But at the same time, I'm only going to be seeing 2 to 3 people a week then who can afford
Dude,
that. And
yeah.
that's not what I'm about.
I'm not even half that. And I'm like not making as much as I should, or like booking as many people. It's also a sign of the times right now, I think, right? Like it's just like inflation or whatever. Like we live in weird times. So like people aren't investing as much in this type of stuff. Like, and I think
Well,
they
because
should.
there's fear-based stuff, which is that negative thinking. Fear-based thinking, definitely not. You're not TP in it.
No, truthfully, and I can confidently say that like it's the spiritual investments that I never have buyer's remorse over. Like it's just that those like I always walk away. Even the like couple of readings that I've had that I've been like, "Ooh, that was not. I picked the wrong practitioner." I it, the value for me was in seeing what not to do, or like there were still a couple good
110%.
nuggets. There were still like in both of them, there was still a couple really good little nuggets, and those little couple things. I was like, you know what, I'll carry that with me, and I won't forget that. And I'll
And
like, we'll
sometimes
see if that
later
happens
on,
or
it
whatever.
like so I've had readings and I've also given readings where nothing hits at that time, but then later on, that boom, it hits. And then the person will be like, listen, I thought you were insane. I thought that you were a quack. But
Yeah.
listen, everything that you said hit, 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 hit. And so it's like, well, welcome.
It's so wild you say that. I won't even get into it. But before we started recording, I was telling you I've been like validated by clients lately this week. Like it's been the weirdest thing. That's been the big thing. It's like people coming back to me and being like, yo, like I didn't know what you were talking about when we had our reading. They're like 6 months later, shit's been wild. Okay, and then also what I want to address with the spiritual materialism, look, like there's always a shadow side and a light side. Right?
Mhm.
So there's of course this shadow side of spiritual materialism, but do you know, and what I know, more people, like I wouldn't even say that they're like loaded, right? And they just have like everything at their fingertips. It's just that they're willing to make bigger investments in the spiritual like wellness sphere.
Well, they're thinking it's investments in themselves,
Yes,
so
yeah. And maybe they I would say are spending more money than average, like people I know,
mhm,
like a good amount. Like this is probably more of the LA crowd in my mind. It's like people in the spiritual community here, they may not be super well off, but a good amount of what they spend instead of going to the bars or whatever, they're investing in the spiritual community. I won't say it's always for the right reasons, but I don't know that the spiritual materialism is like that strong either in a negative sense, because think of these positive benefits here to spiritual materialism, right? By investing in this, you are getting this motivation for growth, right? Like there is like you're going to be able to pursue credentials, meaning that you are going to get like taught by accredited people. You're
mhm.
getting access to knowledge and education, like and getting to encounter spiritual activities and modalities that you maybe would never have experienced otherwise had you not invested in it. So like it's opening
Mhm.
you up to spiritual growth potential by investing in it, even if you start investing in it because it's kind of a trendy cool thing now to be spiritual or whatever. You're opening the possibility that you're now going to actually become a very spiritual person because you're
Mhm.
actually in involving yourself in it. But
Mhm.
then also the community and connection, right? Like that's also just as big. Like anybody who's going to like retreats, right? You're
Yeah,
like
I just
connecting with.
hosted one this past. I mean, that's the whole shoot of
Yes.
my retreat. We just had it was my largest retreat to date this past weekend. And as I do, I have this little tiny microphone and I do what I call intake. And literally it's connection, community, I want
Yeah.
manifestation, all these buzzwords, by the way, that are completely associated with TP. And
Uh-huh.
like and because I am different in the healer community and that I don't give a fuck and I'm, fuck part of my fuck love and light and I'm in it to win it and I'm here to push you to be the best and I'm a very cute little lady, but I'm very masculine in my energy. But the community is and it's beautiful. And there's a lot of clichéness in it. I always say that I'm not a kumbaya healer. We're not gonna be around a campfire, singing and holding hands. But I love what I've created, and I created it out of you guessed it. Toxic positivity. But is it toxic? Because I don't think it is.
No, it's not. And like, I'm sorry, go back to what, episode 1, where I literally was saying, I don't have that here. I don't have the community. I'm
Mhm.
in this. I don't have it. I wish I did. That's why I like the podcast. That's why I like my clients. Like, that's why I like all
Mhm.
this. Like, I don't have the community here.
Which is why we're trying to get him to Charleston so we can do these things in person.
Just gonna drop that
Mhm.
bomb. Maybe you guys, really,
Yeah,
maybe, like, really, maybe won't checking it out.
Charleston people, let's get him here. LA people, not one of y'all have sent any of the code words. Shame on you. Shout out to Ryan's mom who sent chocolate chip cookie, the
My
most adorable
mom
thing ever.
sent chocolate chip cookies. It was like the timing was impeccable.
It
And
was. It was so cute.
Ryan Hagen did send me chocolate chip cookies too. And then I actually just went to dinner with one of my old roommates and I was kind of telling her about this whole story. Now she's been commenting on the other buzzwords on our Instagram posts. Anyway. So
So
now,
cute.
okay, cool. So we talked about some negative aspects, but also positive things with toxic
Mhm.
positivity. But now some of the favorable traits of this. And listen, here's the funny thing. And like, we're probably not going to get into all this. A lot of this is going to get reserved for part 2, like the actual studies and like, I think like
Mhm.
what to do with negative and positive thinking, like action steps will probably be more of a part 2 thing here. But I
Mhm.
think a really fascinating distinction between this, like, people who are against TP and people who are for TP
Mhm.
is that there are like countless studies. I was overwhelmed with research for the positive mental, spiritual, emotional, physical effects of positive fucking thinking and forced positive thinking.
And
Forced.
let me tell you a little something about the brain, and maybe this will make sense as to why all these studies take place. Because as you know, I do a lot of mindset. Your brain has no sense of humor, first of all, and it has no sense of time. So when you're telling it something, it is literally like, oh, it's happening right now. And that's why when you think a thought and you have an emotion. So this is why all these studies. So when you're going through it, acknowledge your thoughts, acknowledge what's you're going on, the severity of it, but then you got to get yourself through it, and you can through positive thinking. And this is my shit, son.
Yes, dude. No, I know you've always been like this. Like for me, it was hard. Like I don't know if you had an easier journey to like the positive thinking stuff. Like, and I fall off the track all the damn time. All the damn time. I will like the neuroplasticity goes both ways, you know, like I
Hmm.
really will get into my negative spirals. I'm really good now, I think, at catching myself, but that took a
You
couple
are.
years of me
Yeah.
like catching myself. And I'll still like I'll be in the negative mindset longer than I want to be, but I do notice like when like serious things transpire, I snap out of it quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and I'm happier and like I just am handling it better and more solutions oriented, whatever. But I'll still fall off of my track. Like I will go long periods of time without doing positive affirmations every day. But you know what fucking is so crazy? Every time I get back into like my positive affirmations, the miracles that just start happening. Like almost instantaneous fucking miracles, dude. Like it's the craziest thing. Like I won't even get into the stories, but it's just like there really is like this like beautiful thing that happens that kind of reaffirms like when
Oh,
you go off
yes.
of the track, right? Once you get back
Yes.
on, the way life shows up for you.
You have 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000. And anytime you speak, your brain is listening. And I am is a direct command to your subconscious.
Mhm.
So all these, when the youth says, and I hate even saying it, but like, I am deceased. Oh my God. So you think something so funny that you're dead, then your brain is like, oh my God, your brain's sole function is to keep you alive. Remember, this guy has no sense of humor and no sense of time. So then it's going to create a barrier, an issue. Maybe you get a migraine. Maybe you watch
Mhm.
your fucking mouth when you are talking. And it's so important. I
Yeah.
am loved. I am chosen. I am.
Ooh, and there's like I really think that like you can consciously tell the difference between like when you're jokingly like self-deprecating humor can be funny and like you can say the words that are like negative, maybe like I am XYZ and negative, but you know in your head if
Yeah, but
you've
your
worked on this and
subconscious doesn't
healed it.
know. Your
Well, but the
That's the
funny
thing.
like no, because like I think like I can for me at least, I don't know, it's just my brain, but like I can tell the difference when I'm like saying, I don't know, I can't even give a good example right now, but like if I
No,
were to
I
like
understand
tag
what.
myself as something stupid or whatever, I don't want to say the word stupid because this is actually my next point. But like I'm sure I could like call myself something that I am not, right? But I
Mhm.
know the difference. And like I am very well aware, and this is not like no part of me really believes that I am that because the intention
The
behind it
conscious
is
brain.
not there. Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, yes. But then where I'm noticing subconscious brain show up more so is not in those moments, like not in the conscious moments. It's not in those like that. And it's not in like the bigger things, even I get what you're saying, like the I am deceased stuff, like for sure. I get it. But
Yeah.
like my bigger thing is the little shit where it's like you you spilled your coffee over on your desk and your knee-jerk reaction is, oh, I'm so stupid, and you get up and say it. That was a knee-jerk reaction from a subconscious space that was not conscious. That was your subconscious popping out, and you're not even largely realizing it when you say that. I'm so stupid. No, you're not. You catch yourself. That to me is the subconscious. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is.
Like
It
that's
is.
where it's like,
It
and those
absolutely is.
it's the little shit like that where it's like you're not even aware because you're not conscious of it, right? Like that's the shit that worries me. Like the conscious talk, I feel like is easier to get a hold of and to like reprogram the brain or like just reinforce while you're saying something that is like clearly not what you believe. You're kind of subconsciously, in my mind at least, I'm kind of reinforcing in my subconscious, like, obviously I don't believe
We
that
should do
self,
a whole episode because this is exactly like what
I know.
delved at, completely immersed my life. I always was a positive thinker and had a positive outlook and a sunny disposition. But with, taking law of assumption the past year and a half, 2 years, and you know what I've been able to do. But it is
Mhm.
your subconscious rules the show 95%. So when you spill that coffee and you say, God, I'm so stupid, that is your subconscious and that is a belief
Yes.
system. And so, so we gotta
Deeply
do.
ingrained in you too.
Mhm.
Deeply fucking ingrained.
I used to be very self-deprecating,
I'm not
and
very self-deprecating,
I
I don't
used
think,
to.
but a lot of yeah.
I used
And
to,
I don't think that's great. Like I like the
but I'm
humor,
not
right? Like when
now.
it's like I
Yeah.
like it, like in stand-up comedy, like but I self we need a humor episode. We need to get Karen on for a second episode. You guys haven't even heard Karen's first episode yet, but it's coming and it's so good. But really she should do a humor episode like the because she knows so much about just comedy in general. And
Mhm.
I think self-deprecating humor is like fascinating because I actually truly believe like you cannot make fun of yourself unless it's something that you have like quite thoroughly healed.
Oh, that's so true. That is so true. If you're going to point out a flaw of yours, you got to be so comfortable with it. You can tell the difference. When people aren't.
It's a big thing. So anyway, some of the favorable effects, like I just think that this is interesting about like toxic positivity is there's so many studies, so much research about the positive benefits physically, emotionally, spiritually, etc. for positive thinking. It's very difficult. And there's a lot of negative effects toward negative thinking. Very, very difficult to find any sort of like negative effects of positive thinking. That, like go you dear listeners, please go research and please like literally open invitation. Like we said, we're not doctors or scientists or researchers, right? Okay. So like please show us something better. But like I can't find studies on toxic positivity.
And trust me, he's been working. Yeah, he has been working. He's been looking. He's been deep diving.
I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
Of course, look, like of course I'm gonna absorb all the information that I possibly can here. Like, so I want to know what I'm talking about, Like, and I just like I'm sure there is stuff out there, and there is, but it's kind of like a loophole, where nobody's like studied toxic positivity and found like all these negative effects.
You never been like, you know what? I hate her. She's so goddamn positive. I'm just radiating everywhere she goes.
Like, I think the worst thing about it is like other people who aren't so positive around you, like end up being annoyed with your like incessant
That's literally what I
like,
run into.
What a terrible thing.
If people want to stew in their problems, they're like, don't call Megan. Because I'm like, all right, well, like, what's the good thing? Tell me something.
Yeah. Good. I'm like, as I've gotten older, I've just gotten like more comfortable with myself, I guess. I think I overcompensated more when I was like a young adult, fresh in the world, like before I was an astrologer. Like I moved to Vegas, which is like party city. And I would get asked all the time at work because I was just cheery. I was a cheery fucking guy. And like, I would get asked all the time, like, are you on cocaine? Like in the middle of a work day. And I'd be like, no, I had never even done cocaine at that point. Like truly, like I was like, no, what are you talking about? No.
You're like, you want to go to the bathroom with me, bud?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, But you're not going to find many like negative effects of toxic positivity or positive thinking at all. But you find plenty of negative effects about negative thinking, plenty of positive effects about positive thinking. And the negative effects that you really do find about like toxic positivity or the research that's against positive thinking, really, it's not even saying positive thinking leads to XYZ negative scenarios, right? It's more so saying there are these like things that toxic positivity can kind of like enable that aren't good behaviors, and these not good behaviors actually have all these bad side effects. So, for example, here are just four, okay? They say they find that toxic positivity can be linked to emotional suppression. And then they go into, well, if you're suppressing your emotions, then that can cause increased psychological distress and lower levels of well-being. What kind of shitty science is that? I'm sorry, that is like cause effect. Like, I don't like, how do you even like, that's not a clear correlation here. You're saying toxic positivity maybe like contributes to emotional suppression, right?
That's like if you smile at someone. That's the same. Like if you smile at a stranger, you may be smiling at a serial killer who may want to kill you. You know, like that's how I.
And no, true. And yes, and it's and it's literally you may. Oh my god,
that's how dumb that sounds to me.
I think no, it does. It literally is. Well, and it's funny because like as much as the very little evidence that I found, you know, just on that emotional suppression angle, for example, is also contradictory to more legitimate proof that I've found saying that positive thinking actually opens you up to greater emotional resilience and being able to express and feel all sorts of. So science, you know, often has contradictory findings. So all of these are contradictions, by the way, which not only are they not direct, has been a things,
contradiction. It's
I know, but this is what's so funny. It's that, and that's the point I think of this topic. Yes,
and this is totally why we're doing clairvoyance.
A podcast of spiritual interference, not spiritual fucking clarity, bitches. Not spiritual confirmation bias.
I love your evil laugh. You don't even know when you're doing it.
Oh God, I don't. It's so maniacal. It's so Gemini. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and it just happens. But okay, so then the other like three negative effects of toxic positivity, so they say, is inauthenticity and self-denial. Excuse me, rewind to my story about embracing myself and coming out because of my toxic positivity. Fuck you. And then relationship strain, saying that you're more likely to invalidate other people's experiences and dismiss like their struggles, which causes barriers to effective communication and empathy. I feel like I was able. I get it. Like I'm sure that could happen.
Yeah.
I don't. That was not my experience.
With like flat Stanley individuals, like one-dimensional emotional humans. I think like. But when you're talking about like rich, complex weirdos like you and I, like. So I think that is probably like the girl when you're like, yo, I'm having my boyfriend did X, Y, cheated on me, did this, and it's like just think positive. Just get over it. Just like positive.
I know. I
It's the flat Stanleys of the world that we. It's the
there really isn't. Yeah, you're right. There's not like a richness or a subtext there. Like there's nothing more going on. And then the last one here is like avoidance of growth opportunities, basically. And that's it, which is also not true. There's evidence in these studies that we've found that show you actually are much more likely to be creative and successful when you have a positive mindset. So like, I'm sorry, like the very little things you can find about the negative effects of toxic positivity, the negative effects largely seem to be like a personal issue with people who don't know how to be positive. They just prefer to be negative. And we've also got evidence about that. These people who like are literally keeping themselves in a negative mindset, keeping grievance journals instead of a gratitude
Can you
journal.
Imagine a grievance journal?
It's in here. You know what? I think we stop there and we'll get into the grievance journal. We get into all these other things.
Part two.
Y'all gonna have to get to part two. But you join us over there, and you know what? We're not even gonna tell you when it's coming.
Don't you dare! You better have a gratitude journal and not a y'all are dabbling with the wrong G. Gratitude, not grievance. Get out of here with that.
Yeah. Say your positive affirmations, bitch.
All day. All day. All right, part 2. We're recording.
I love you.
I fucking love you. You understand?
Oh my God. Really though? Love you guys.
Love you. Part 2. Thank you for the support. We love you all.
Bye. Oh, oops.